Hey, welcome to another episode of Chasing Rings. What's up, guys?
Hey, gentlemen.
Good to
Hey,
see
what's
y'all,
up, bro?
man. Good to see y'all. Oh, man. Feel like we getting close to football, man. I don't know if y'all realize next Thursday night this time is the Hall of Fame game.
Oh, wow.
It is already August.
I
That's
know.
true. Have any of y'all been to the Hall of Fame game? That's one of my goals is to get there.
Nah, I've always kind of thought about, I should plan a guy's trip, but next thing you know, here we are a week before. So it kind of sneaks up on you.
Yeah, that's
Before
true.
my life, I was right near it, near the Hall of Fame, and never went.
What? We need to
Yep, when
plan that.
Columbus and then Kent,
Oh, man. Yeah, you were right there.
right there. Never
I
went.
don't know why I never thought about going all of the time because I have family up in that area, but I never thought about shooting over. It's a while ago. It's been a long time since I've been to Ohio, but I never thought about shooting over there and checking it out. But yeah, we got to add that to the list.
Well, you know how it is. I mean, when you live near something, a lot of times I'll get to it.
Yep.
Never do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, man. Well, like I said, good to see you fellas. Let's get into doing what we do best. And I'm going to set us off tonight on our...
Wait, what?
All right. So I'm going to actually do a NFL one. I'm going to stay away from the Big Ten tonight. I'll have enough to say about them. I'm going to stick with an NFL one. So as I was thinking about the show tonight, I was wondering, had a first round pick ever been cut before? So I said, you know what, let me do a little digging. Well,
I think I might
believe it or not, it actually happened in 1999.
Wait, what?
Wow.
So the 29th pick in the draft was a gentleman, Demetrius Underwood from Michigan State. The name is vaguely familiar to me. Minnesota picked him with the 29th pick in the 1999 draft. He was waived by the Vikings, okay? He basically signed his contract. A couple days later, left practice without a word, and then he was a no-show for over a week, and then they cut him.
Oh, my gracious.
But interestingly enough, he ended up being picked up by Miami. So I guess they put him on waivers. He ended up getting picked up by Miami, had some issues there, ended up a couple seasons with Dallas, had some issues there. And then it was like a 4-year hiatus, and he ended up with Ottawa in the CFL before he ended up getting released from the practice squad. It said he had a lot of mental health issues, but yeah, so there actually has been a first-round pick that did not make it with the team that drafted him. So I was a little bit surprised by that because you figure first-round picks are, that's the guarantee. That's the sure shot.
Yeah.
All right.
True.
All right. G, what do you have for us tonight?
All right, I'm going to close out with with conference expansion. So in 1896, the Western Athletic Conference was founded. So that's Purdue, University of Chicago, Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, Northwestern, and Wisconsin. They added Indiana and Iowa in 1899. Now, y'all have heard me call Michigan Itchigan before, right?
Yes.
So correct.
This is one of the reasons why. Michigan left that conference in 1908. OSU joined in 1912, and then Michigan came back in 1917. So Michigan has always been flaky. But the Big Ten was officially termed such in what year?
Ooh, great question.
Say that one more time.
The Big Ten was officially termed such what year?
You said 1896 is when this first conference came about, right?
Founded 1896.
I'm going to say maybe 1903.
Nope. Big
Well, how about when was it Ray Grange played for them? I want to say 1926.
Nope, 1987.
Wait,
Really?
Yep.
1987.
That's when it was like officially termed the Big Ten.
Oh, that's you. You know what? It was the Big Eight at one time, right? It was the Big Eight and
Yes.
Big Eight and Pac-10. And it was Pac-8, Pac-10, but it was Pac-10, Big Eight.
Yeah.
I remember. I knew that it was the Western Conference before, but I thought it went immediately to the Big Ten after that.
No, right. I remember I had an argument. That was an argument with one of my high school teammates. He said, we're not called. And then they just became the Big Ten. Yeah.
Right. It started in the newspapers.
Wow. Okay. I'm trying to think back to that time, and I thought we were calling it the Big Ten before '87, but apparently not.
Well, it may have been called the Big Ten, but
But it wasn't official. Got you. All right, what do you have tonight, big dude?
Well, Guru, you mentioned whether you do NFL or you would do college, and I'm going to do both of those in honor of the Big Ten, and let's continue with that theme. And we talked about, and we just happened to talk about by chance, Canton, the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Well, in the Big Ten, as it stands, there are 18 member teams in the Big Ten. And there were some very good players in almost all those different years that we mentioned and all those times and all those names. But did you all know that out of all the 18 member teams, all member teams in the Big Ten have sent at least one person to the Hall of Fame, minus the Rutgers Scarlet Knights.
wait,
Wow.
what?
Yes.
Whoa.
The Rutgers Scarlet Knights, minus the Rutgers Scarlet Knights have never gotten a player. No former Scarlet Knight has ever gone into the Hall of Fame.
Oh my gracious.
Wow.
No
That's
Scarlet Knight, no room at the end. You have players like Devin McCourty. I know y'all probably remember y'all that follow defensive backs. Deron Cherry, which I'm still floored is not in there.
I didn't realize he went to Rutgers.
Yes.
Where's he from?
Yeah.
Is he a Jersey kid?
I think he is. I think he's like Pennsauken or somewhere. He's
Okay.
Pennsauken, Camden area. But now that I look back, I think I remember him from the Carrier Post. And, Rutgers having a 5-7 season or 5-8 season that they had last year, they need something good to happen. So let's hope Rutgers does something, because there's a lot that just isn't happening good at Rutgers. So somebody show up on somebody's front door, knock on that door, ring the doorbell, and say, it's time for who? For RU. Somebody.
There's got to be we have to find somebody at some point that we think might end up on that ballot. There has to be somebody.
I think Deron Cherry is the perfect one. I mean, and you got to remember, even though it was college football, I think Paul Robeson was one of the people that started pro football and coached in the very beginning, because he didn't play that long, and he started coaching and actually was part of that first iteration of the NFL before it got switched over. So I thought that's even worth something. You got everything named after him. We got stuff named after him at Penn State. Remember, we all went to the
Robeson Center. Absolutely.
Center at Penn State. So let's go, man. Somebody say who? Not just who, but RU. I don't see too much happening with RU. But that's
I don't know, big dude. I'm not hopeful on that one, man.
Not at all. It's really being where they're located.
Well, sorry, RU.
But that'll do it for our.
Wait, what?
All right, let's get into a little bit of news. Man, I feel like there's so much that jumped off after the LeBron selection. Almost had to limit what we wanted to cover in lieu of not becoming a freaking half-hour edition of Sports Center or something like that. Start with some of the major stories. University of North Carolina, obviously, football program is under some serious scrutiny under Coach Belichick right now. General Manager Michael Lombardi, as I'm sure everyone knows by now, is on paid leave. Specifics have not been provided in terms of why, but it definitely has something to do with their handling of NIL agreements, potentially. So there's been no further word on that. We think this might be, you ever see that thread in your clothing that's starting to unravel, and you know you don't want to pull on it because you know what'll happen if you start tugging on it. I feel like this is the beginning of possibly the end of the Belichick era. I hope not, but it's not looking good. We'll see what happens with that. The Stanford football players, oddly enough, have formed a campus chapter of the College Football Players Association, which isn't necessarily a union in the sense of them trying to gain employee status, but it's more about more of a collective. You think about the players unions in the different major league sports, where it's more about collective bargaining type stuff, which it's weird to me. They want a distinction between being an employee because that they don't want that distinction, because when you get into collective bargaining, it's typically dealing with unions and employees. Yeah. So I haven't seen anything else about this in terms of details since it hit a few days ago, but we'll keep our eyes on that. You guys probably remember, it's been a while now, maybe could have even been a decade or more now, where the Northwestern players had some momentum around unionizing, and then I never heard anything else about it.
Right. I mean, they talked to AFSCME, all the other, probably I would say 6 or 7, and they backed Kane Coulter. They were right behind him. I guess Kane Coulter didn't know what to do with it at the time, but Kane Coulter, not only was he a pretty solid quarterback at Northwestern, and, you know, again, not a great program, but Kane Coulter really held that down and made it loud discussion. Back in the 90s at Penn State, I don't know if y'all remember, they had a guy, he wasn't an all-star, but he was a tremendous athletic talent, was Shelly Hammond. Shelly Hammond was kind of a tweener running back and receiver, you know, at the movement down the Atlantic coast. That's about how far it went. And it went a certain way and it stopped. But the person that was in charge of getting the labor unions out really was Kane Coulter, right around 2010. Yeah.
Got you. Yes, we'll see if anything else comes of that. I doubt it in the era that we're in now, with so much money flowing in the players, basically making professional money. I don't know where this will go, but we'll see. In other college football news, Tennessee linebacker Arian Carter was suspended for the first 2 games of the upcoming season. And check this out, fellas. If you think about all the money that's circulating now and the different rules that we've seen over the years and the violations, for accepting a $427 plane flight from an agent after he had declared for the NFL draft. So he got hurt towards the end of the year last year and decided to withdraw from the draft. And he aggravated that injury when he came back, and he decided he was going to return to Tennessee for his senior year. So think about that. He declared for the draft, had an agent got him a plane ticket, changed his mind, comes back to college. Now it's a violation. And I'm sorry, if you think about all the money that's flowing now and how players are being compensated, that we're still going by such an archaic rule is a little bit ridiculous to me.
The context is kind of off to me.
It's super off.
It wasn't to return. So it sounds like the student was operating as, I'm going to go pro.
Absolutely was operating as such.
Right. Then the injury is like, well, shoot, I can't go pro like this, so I'm going to go back. So it just seems like the whole intent was not about, flouting a rule, as opposed to the intent was, I'm going pro.
Yep.
That's dumb.
It's right. And I guess I don't agree with it, but I guess if they had to enforce something, all right, you have to get the $427 back then.
Yeah, it just doesn't make.
Is ridiculous.
Right. With all this NIL money he getting, man, just write a check.
Exactly. Here you go.
Restitution.
Yeah.
So, yeah, another dumb NCAA violation. I'll shift gears for the remainder of the news in the NFL camp news. So some of these teams, man, with these injuries early in your team, I don't know if you're keeping up, but man, you guys are snake bitten so far. So
Really?
we had the injury the first day of camp. I think it's yesterday, Chris Brazel, our guy, suffers an LCL tear. I hadn't seen an update on it at the time. I know that he was going for MRI.
I'm just looking at the injury report. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I haven't seen whether he got his MRI yet and what the results were. But I'm thinking, damn, G, what can go wrong for your boys has gone wrong in the first freaking week of training camp.
He's out for the 26th season.
Oh, my goodness.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Remember how highly we were talking about him and couldn't believe that he was still on the board? What a great get it was for you guys. Man, that's terrible. That's
terrible. That's me. He tore his lateral collateral ligament.
Damn.
Dude, yeah, that's rough.
Yeah. Well, best wishes to him for a speedy recovery. Cincinnati also hit by the injury bug. Their defensive end, Shamar Stewart, he hyperextended his knee. Fortunately for him, no ligament damage. So he'll be out for a little bit. Atlanta, guess who?
Penix and Tua.
Yup. Tua, they're calling it a flare-up. Like not really a specific injury, but a flare-up of some sort. No details were given. And of course, Penix is still recovering from his November ACL tear.
Right.
So, but Penix is starting to do some 7-on-7 work, and he's waiting to be cleared any day now. We know Tua was always going to be an injury concern. Concern with Penix is his history of injuries. This will be his third knee, I believe, his third ACL tear, and he's had 2 shoulder injuries. So, Atlanta, best of luck with your quarterback situation there. Speaking of that Cincinnati injury, he's the second Texas A&M guy to get hurt this camp. Just a asterisk there. I found that damn A&M guys dropping like flies. And the last one could be a huge one for your boys, big dude, Jonathan Grenard's injury.
Yeah.
The Eagles put him on the PUP list, physically unable to perform. Any updates on that, big dude? I know it's a pectoral injury, but any updates on his status in terms of missed time?
Honestly, I haven't heard anything else. Like I said, I was indisposed for the day, so I didn't catch all that. But it sounds like it's going to be a little bit of time. Most of camp probably.
Yeah, I definitely hope, and I think I had mentioned to you in text that it's not similar to what Milano had, because he basically was gone for the year. So hopefully it's not something that severe. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that will do it for our news. We are going to get into our Big Ten, which I know these two probably just have not been able to sleep at night like kids on Christmas Eve. Their beloved Big Ten, back-to-back national champions. Woo, woo, woo. Don't forget the SEC's won 13 out of the last 20. Don't get it twisted. Mm-hmm. But on the real, for nearly 2 decades, every media days conversation has started with one question: who can catch the SEC? Well, that's not what they were talking about in Chicago this year. That conversation is definitely flipped. The Big Ten, as I mentioned, is one of the last 3 natties. And you have multiple programs this year that thinking they could make the CFP playoff. And I'll go out on the limb and add to that and say you probably got 3 or 4 programs that think they could win the whole thing, not just get in. So now the pressure belongs to people who are sitting at the top of that conference. We're not going to talk about whether the Big Ten is elite anymore. It's whether anyone, including the SEC, can knock them off the throne. So we take a look at a few of the things, and I hope I'm saying his name right, Commissioner Tony Petitti's State of the Conference. Definitely one of the biggest takeaways is that the Big Ten is definitely the new standard in college football. And just a side note before we dive into that, one of the things that I read recently is that the SEC was pretty much progressing in every other sport, and football is the only sport that's kind of starting to take a step back, interestingly enough. Because if you think about March Madness, they get a ton of SEC teams into the tournament now. They're pretty consistently, they've been good for the last probably 10 or 15 years or so, getting better with each year. So I thought that was an interesting side note, that the football, in terms of football, the conference is taking a step back. But there's no doubt that the Big Ten is the premier conference after the success they've had recently. Certainly we know who the top dogs are, Ohio State, Indiana, Penn State, Oregon. I'm going to throw USC there, and Michigan, as G calls them. But I think many people believe that the road this year to the championship is going to go through the Big Ten. As much as it nauseates me, I'd have to agree, at least the end of July here. So there's no debate to be had there, and I think they just cemented that in the commissioner's opening words. He also touched on the future of college athletics. He really focused on this Protect College Sports Act as being very important. Now, he is not taking the same angle that Sankey took, certainly, SEC's commissioner, while the Big Ten does have some things that they don't agree with on the Protect College Sports Act. It's not as I don't think it's as much as the SEC has, but he just wants consistency is what his message was. He avoided the NCAA split discussion. We're going to let the SEC continue to fall on that sword. But he was just more advocating for collaboration and just really the long-term stability of the sport, right? Keeping it competitive and just making it a more sustainable model is kind of where they were coming from, which why wouldn't you? You've won the last 3 championships. What do we have to complain about, right? This I want to get you guys' input on. He did touch on playoff expansion in the Big Ten, and we talked about this with the SEC when we did their preview. One of the things that stood out for me is he mentioned that if we did go to this expanded playoff with looking at a 24 team, he's basically saying that he would eliminate their conference playoff game. And I know, G, that you were an advocate of that. Like, if we're going to expand it, why have these championship games? And he also expressed that he'd rather see more Big Ten SEC regular season matchups.
Yeah, I love that comment.
Yeah, I would love to see that too, because you know what? We kid and all of that, but I would give it a little bit more credence if you're smacking us around in the regular season. And I know that you've been getting us postseason, but if you're knocking us around regularly during the season, then I got to be like, whoa, maybe it is a true changing of the guard. And I think it'll be better for the sport. And we've talked about this well before we thought about doing this show. We're tired of seeing some of these cupcake matchups that our teams play sometimes during the season.
For sure.
I want to go on the road and be tested against, a championship caliber team, see where my team is at. I don't want to play, these FCS schools or, lower FBS level schools. So the big discussion on that end was to trade those conference championship games for that larger CFP, and he would certainly give that up if he could play some Big Ten SEC matchups.
I would like
a little bit of.
I would love that. Those two things. I would love it. One, it would be great if those extra 3 games that the teams had, that they were in league games. So if we're talking about SEC, one of them is Big 12, one of them is a Big 10, one of them is an ACC game. Mm-hmm. I think that makes the Power Four, I think, a better consortium of conferences. Because now, when you talk about all the teams in the conference having interleague play, you can have those metrics that take that into account, and you can really have a lot more balance in terms of where teams are. So, yeah, I definitely like that. And I have no problem getting rid of that conference championship if you're going to expand, because then the winner of your conference is the conference champ.
Yep.
So you better get it done to a conference player. It's not happening.
Yeah, and I really like the element you mentioned about the metrics there, because I think it actually helps the CFP committees helps make their job easier, because now you can look at these head-to-head matchups, You have these explicit matchups that you can use to judge, especially when you're getting down to selecting the last few teams. That's one of the things that I like that college hoops does. I love those conference matchups, challenges that they refer to them as in the beginning of the season. It's a great measuring stick, for those programs. And it's usually early in the year for them, but it's a great measuring stick to see where your team is. I think it definitely would bring some more excitement to the football season. What are your thoughts, Big Dude, on those two particular things?
Well, I think one way, and I definitely agree with G on just about everything on that. I know when we came along, and maybe it's archaic the way people see it now, but I think, G, you had brought up the last time about the challenges and the battles between the SEC and the Big Ten. I almost liken it to when you had those classics in the very beginning. Like, I don't know if y'all remember the kickoff classic. We played Texas in the kickoff classic one year. We played Nebraska. We got pollywopped, in those games. But it kind of started off our season and set the rankings. I'd like to see the rankings set a little bit earlier with some of those challenges. Just like if people get to go to Ireland and they get to go to England, whatever these preseason classics, there should be maybe 4 teams that are good matchups, or that weekend that they have the early effect of what the college football playoff could look like. That's the first thing in terms of how they will work together to put together good matchups and help the value of certain games. That will be number one. I'm not sure about the 24 games still. I think it's still about how the road to the championship would be in the 24 games. Because it still sounds like until we fix the rule in terms of who is used to getting favored during those matchups, they've already announced and said those teams that are not as strong as some of the other teams that they would play early, which isn't a bad thing. But then there's going to be metrics about who gets to play in those early games on the way to the college championship. And you want to make it a little bit clearer, I think, about if you're in. I would say the first round would be the only round where it wouldn't be too bad. I still say 16 is the way to go on the way to 24. I think you can still do a lot of the same things. So I think if you do 16, and if you do some of the early classics, and even put some of the G5s and G6s in those early classics, the Boise's on one side, or maybe a G5 or G6, the Boise versus North Carolina. You have those opportunities to make those particular teams and to help other people find out what their level of competition is, especially if somebody that you play early happens to have a very good season. Because a lot of times when you get blown out in that first game, it's going to set what type of schedule and who else is you're going to play. Like I said, and there's a lot of key games that are going to be played in November. But I think before you get to November, people need to find out how much work people had to do and see what marked improvement folks can have to get the right playoff spot. But then kind of make it some parity between how that first round and second round goes to 16 teams before we go to 24. If it does go to 24, then the parity's got to be even more about who has that particular road. Somebody's going to get an easier road to get to those final 2 games. The question is, how will they get to that easier road? So.
Yeah, I like a few things you said about some of these earlier games, and I'm thinking about that North Carolina TCU game in Ireland. No disrespect to either of those programs, but put 2 top 10s in that game, in that international game, and make it more of a big deal, right? Mm-hmm. Open the season with these power conferences going against each other, and you know how they slow roll. Like, we'll get LSU and Clemson, but that would be the only probably competitive game I believe we get that first week or 0 week, whatever they're calling it. Put all these teams set these matchups for week 1, because the way that they schedule these teams, they're going to have, a couple of weeks to kind of, get some cupcake games in, but start them off with a big boy right off the bat. I would love to see that. So I love what you said about that. I also want to go back to this 16 versus 24, and I know we're going to get deep into that next week. I know G's gonna spit that knowledge on that, but I'm starting to back away from the 24 a little bit because I feel like it may compromise the regular season a little bit.
Yes.
I'm fine with the 16, but I think without getting too much into it on this show, I feel like then you basically give teams a little bit more leeway to lose some games. And I still want the college season to be important. I don't want everybody coming in with 2 and 3 losses. I love that Indiana was a 16-0 champion. I like 15-1 champions. I don't want a 14-3 or I don't want somebody that's lost that many games. And again, that's neither here or there. That's just more of a me preference. But I think that's what we're used to historically in college football, right? When they were just voting, it was a 0 or 1 loss team. Usually it was 2 undefeated teams going at it. And I think that when you're going into your season thinking, well, we could probably lose 3 games and it won't be as a big of a deal getting into the playoffs, I still want that to matter.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Didn't matter.
Say that again.
I don't understand why you think that going to 24 would diminish the conference championship. Because
I'm not saying anything about the conference championship. I'm saying the season period.
The season, because the reality is these teams are going to get ranked. That's how they're going to get in. And so,
but how are they ranking them? They're ranking them based a lot of times. If you're looking at traditional rankings, they're ranking on how their losses. If you lose, you get dropped usually.
The same way. The bottom line is you will still want to have the best season you can so that you can look good to the CFP committee and get ranked as high as you can. That's not going to change. It's just that
I think it takes away the pressure of the games, G.
How?
If I'm looking at the Alabama-Georgia game, like think about the Alabama-Georgia game last year. Alabama had lost once already.
And think about the people who didn't get in who complained.
I'm not sure what that. I don't know what that has to do with the point I'm making.
What about Notre Dame not getting in?
Right.
They shouldn't have gotten in.
That's right.
My whole point is that the season still mattered. It's just that they were playing for the CFP committee, and the way the structure is, and the CFP committee choosing, they chose the teams that were in. So yeah, and people were still complaining. I mean, your season still matters.
Let me rephrase that. It's not that your season doesn't matter. The games aren't as pressurized as they will be if you can know that you can lose. Let me go to the Alabama-Georgia example. That Alabama-Georgia game that week, and as a Tide fan, stressed as hell. By Thursday, stressed out. Because I know if we lose this game, our season is probably done.
How many wins did they have when they made it in the CFP last season?
I don't recall. I don't remember if they were 9-2, 9-3, or what it was.
I think they won 2 games last season in the CFP.
Say it again.
I think they won 2 games.
How many games Alabama won?
Yeah, in the CFP.
They won the first one.
The point is that even with those losses, they still beat a team that had a better record.
I think you're making another point.
No,
I'm not saying a team doesn't belong in the playoffs if they lose 2 or 3 games. I'm thinking the value of the regular season game. You lose the. I don't want to say you lose the interest, but you lose the importance of the regular season game. That Alabama-Georgia game that week is diminished if Alabama knows, well, shoot, yeah, I can lose the second game and still be good.
Okay.
You're playing like your season's on the line. It's a different intensity to the game. It's a different level of competition.
Depending on who you lose to, depending on how bad you lose, all those things can come in to play.
Okay, we know that, but gee, you're missing the point.
Want to lose.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. Don't you play Texas week 2?
Yeah.
Or week 3?
Week 2,
So
I
you're
think.
telling me that you're not like gonna be like, "Ooh, this is a really, really important game," right?
Yeah,
I
I feel
think
like you have to win. That's just it.
all the games. I see all the games as important because what you don't want to do to the best of your ability is leave it up to the conference committee.
Okay, let me try to say this another way. My point. It basically the way college football has been is you're almost one and done.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings a different level of intensity and importance to the regular season. When you're telling me that, oh, well, I can go in here with 3 losses, and hey, I'm not saying you can't win a championship with 3 losses. I'm not. I think you're saying that. I'm saying that. That's not what I'm saying.
I
My
think
point is that. My
people don't.
point is that.
I think people care. It's just that their frame of reference for the conference, yeah, it's going to change a little bit because you can lose 1 or 2, and that's true. And so, yes, in terms of how they feel, yes, that's going to change. But nobody's going to be like, "Oh God, I'm okay losing," and they
That's
will
not what I said. That is not what I said or insinuated. I said
really
the interest and intensity of the game is going to be different.
no.
The stakes aren't going to be as high. G, you can't tell me the stake. You can't tell me that Ohio State Texas game. If the stakes are going to be different if we get into a 2014 playoff, and let's say big dude Penn State's back to where they were with Franklin. Any of us sitting on here telling me if we know there's a 2014 play, I'm not going into any season worried about making the playoffs as an Alabama fan if we got a 2014 playoff.
Mm-hmm.
I know Ohio State's not going to, and I'm saying Penn State back to where Penn State is. Penn State's not going to be worried.
No,
Excuse me?
okay. So yes, for example, if you only have 4 spots, of course, it's going to be It's going to be higher in terms of getting in. Yes, that's true. You expanded to 24, the calculus is going to change, but that doesn't mean that people are going to care less about performing the best they can.
I never said that they would care
Yeah,
less.
so
I never. You're making it seem like my argument is Alabama going to Georgia, like, oh, this game don't matter if we lose, so just play halfway. That's not what I'm saying. The importance of who wins that game is diminished. The importance of it is diminished.
Yeah, he's actually agreeing with you, G, on the metrics.
Jump in, G. Jump in, big dude.
Yeah, I think he was agreeing with you on the metrics. When you mentioned the metrics earlier, the metrics do change with 24 if you lose 3 games. So if you lose, so I think what he's saying is you lose 3 football games in almost any season up until now, even the other playoffs. And we complained about Duke making it, with 7-5 record. That's what I'm saying. Going all the way back to that. That was different because they grinded and made it a that. But the more teams you put in, the less it's going to be on those games, like that Texas game. Because the way I see it is Ohio State, even though it's not a Big Ten game, they can. That's a
Can't
game that
afford to
can make
lose
this
it.
season. Yeah,
That's right. Can't afford to lose it.
Yeah,
But
they
go to 24 teams, and it ain't gonna hurt you that much if you
right.
lose it.
But if they go beat Texas and they take maybe 1 L somewhere else, you just never know. Long to see what Ohio State always, like you talked about it, being near favorite. So, and because they have that game, they have the Michigan game. So they win all those games. And that's what was difficult about Penn State. I mean, we had to play Ohio State and Michigan every year. So if we had 2 losses, we weren't going to be anything because and it doesn't matter whether we had a hard enough schedule. But when you increase the playoffs, see, then we only had 4 people and we couldn't get in with 4-team playoff. So now we keep expanding it and there's a better chance with 12. We get to 12 and get to the semifinals. But now we get to 24. Maybe we don't need to do as good. He's talking about in terms of the value in the CFP, how they're going to see things and how those metrics change when you get to 24 teams. That it's a bigger tournament. And then you go to 32, it's still okay. They struggled and started 0-3, and then they didn't think they were going to make it to the playoff. So you couldn't do that before, or start off 0-2. It doesn't matter. It's the metrics.
Yeah, what I'm saying
Thank
is
you,
that
big dude.
what I'm saying is that the season is going to still have a lot to do with it, and people are going to still care about it.
We're not debating that.
Because the calculus, no, you're saying it's diminished, and I'm saying it's not going to be diminished.
I said
Okay,
the importance of certain games will
and
be
I'm saying
diminished
it's going to
because
still be
you
important.
have leeway now. You
No,
have basically a
it's
margin
still
of error now. Now
let
you
me
don't
finish.
have a margin
Let
of
me
error.
finish. So I'm gonna say what I'm saying is that the calculus changes. When it was 4, the calculus was just getting in. I just need to get in.
Right.
When you get to 24, now the calculus is I need the highest seed I can possibly get.
Okay.
I need to buy. Yes, I need the buy, and I need to make sure that I'm going to be in those top games with the buy that's going to give me that guaranteed money. So
I hear you, G, but ultimately
calculus
for any round robin, I gotta be in it to win it. And anybody's gonna say that, yeah, I want the top seed, but if I don't, I just want to be in it.
but the top seed actually has meaning, though. You can't act like it doesn't.
I'm not saying it doesn't.
And so that's why I say it's still going to be significantly meaningful because they're going to be fighting for position, and you don't
Yeah,
want.
we're gonna agree to
They
disagree
still
because
don't
I
want
think
to. They still
we're
don't
gonna
want
agree to
to.
disagree.
Because here's the
And
reason.
I feel like if we were in the middle of a season and Ohio State had 2 losses and had to go to Oregon, you'd be ishing yourself before the third game. I think you're saying that, but
Yeah,
no
I
way.
sure would. Yeah, I sure would because I don't want one. I want Ohio State to have the highest seed. 2, I don't want to put anything in the committee's hand. So no, yeah, it's still going to be just as meaningful as a fan to me. It's just a different way. It's going to be a different way of looking at it. It's the same reason why we have all these fights when it comes to March Madness. Okay, and you have all these different teams, and you're looking at this loss and that loss, or this quality win, that quality win, because it's still going to mean something, even though you have so many teams and you're fighting for position. You want the highest seed you can possibly get, and that's
I
where
think the
we're
March
going to. That's
I
what
think the March Madness example is the perfect example because I can lose 14 games and get in. I think the
no,
March
but you can
Madness
also
is
you can also
read right
lose.
into what I'm saying.
You can all lose 7 or 8 games and be out, and then people are complaining. It's like, well, this 7 and 8 team got in, and blah 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 blah, because you left it up to the committee, and you don't want to leave it up to the committee. So you
I
want to
hear
have.
what you're saying, but I think that you're going I'm not getting into the metrics of selecting the teams. I'm saying you have more basically you have more room for error with the 2014 playoff. And you can't tell me that you don't. Because right now you lose one game and you're like, man, I might be
If you're
done.
talking about getting in, yes. But if you're talking about getting the
That's
best,
simply what I was saying.
well, see, that's not what I'm saying. I'm looking at not only getting in, I'm looking at having the best possible seeds because that's what you fight for. That's what we fought for in FCS. That's what you fight for Division 2, Division 3. You're wanting to have the highest seed possible.
I'm not
Right.
disagreeing with
So
you on that, but that wasn't the point that I was making. I'm not disagreeing with
right.
you on that.
That's why I
With
say
you,
the calculus changes.
right. So but if you have in that 6 games, 6 teams with 2 losses and maybe 2 games with 2 teams with 3 losses, back to those seeds again. How do you make those seeds? Like I said, back to this is what I was saying. How do they determine which is going to be the best path and who gets
And
the
that's leave
seeds?
it up to them. That's the point.
Right. But what I'm saying is the more that you put in there, there's going to be these other games. I mean, look who Ohio State has to play. They got to play Indiana, they have to play Oregon, and they have to play Texas. As far as I'm concerned, for them to have the best seed possible, they have to win all those games.
I know a real schedule for once. They actually got to play somebody.
And that's why I give it to Ohio State. That if you win all those games, man, ain't nobody going to take you out of that. Everybody doesn't get the opportunity to have that and to win all those particular games. So I think to Ohio State it means a whole lot, but some of these other people that have never made it, because what happens is Penn State, Ohio State, Alabama, we've been somewhere before and we've got a national championship. But to everybody else, a good year is just getting in the playoffs. But then, like you said, to get the best seed, and the team that's worried about getting the best seed usually is the one that's used to having what they want, like Notre Dame. Notre Dame was more mad because they didn't get what they want. And I think the only way to eliminate things, I think before we do all this, we got to eliminate the conference championship games. That's the only way. But there's too much revenue involved with SEC conference championship and Big Ten.
Yeah, they could fix that and restructure it if they wanted to get rid of those championship games. That's nothing but a meeting and deciding to do it.
Right. No, they could. I'm just talking about when you start talking about how they build everything around it in the season. If it has, there's what I'm saying. If that has no significance, other people believe that have a significance. I think what G's saying is that all of us is significant as far as you're concerned. I don't know about except maybe the conference championship games. I think Guru is just saying, hey, there's no more margin for error. And we're not talking about, like I said, all those programs that we're talking about feels like their season. That's what they said. You lose 2 games, the 2 teams you're not supposed to, and your season will be ruined. And that was before any playoffs.
And that's why Notre Dame's argument was crap to me. It's like when you got all these other teams that undefeated, 1 loss, and you lost twice, one of them to a MAC team. Bye.
Right. Yeah. A MAC team just said will ruin your season.
Yeah.
And they will.
And they have.
And they'll take your seed.
They have before.
Yeah.
Plenty
of
times.
They kind of have a history of that, actually.
They do. They do.
Yeah.
All right. The other, and we're definitely going to pick up this conversation, I'm sure, with even more steam next week as G gets into his fix for all of this. But the other thing that came up is a little bit of criticism came in terms of the Big Ten not requiring a Power 4 non-conference opponent, which I wasn't aware of. Were you guys aware that you're not required to play a Power 4 non-conference?
Yeah,
Wow.
I didn't know that.
I don't understand that.
I mean, damn, we got 900 teams in our conferences. Where you fit that in?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that seems like that should be maybe more of a Big 12, Pac-12 problem than an ACC, SEC, Big 10 problem. But that's not a fair criticism. I'm sorry. Regardless of what I think about strength of schedule,
Right.
The lower teams you play is strong enough. You don't need to be dabbling elsewhere.
But I think that's what G was talking about with the rankings, because they probably are looking at it like that. And with that type of thing, it's still going to be how far does a game, does a Texas Tech beating let's see, Arizona State. Does it matter? I don't know. Or Texas
It doesn't
Tech,
to us. I think it doesn't to those of us fans at our level. It doesn't, because I think that in that point you make, big dude, is the point of why the Big Ten and the SEC are a cut above everybody else. Because Ohio State or Penn State beating Illinois is going to be, I'm going to perceive it differently than TCU beating anybody in their conference outside of BYU.
Yeah.
So it's biases. There's a bunch of biases involved. I mean, it's fans, especially fans that have strong allegiances to teams in power conference like we do. There's a lot of bias in it, right? I mean, when we go back and forth, our big debate is, well, the lower teams in your division are weaker than the ones in our division. So you're beating up, so it's all bias.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. But so I think that's a BS knock on the Big Ten. Yep, defending the Big Ten. The commissioner also.
You need to check your temperature. I think you have a fever.
Yeah, there's something going around, man. Definitely something going around. And then the last item, of course, was the corporate sponsorship stuff that's been the talk of the last couple of days with the patch deals. But I think that's going to end up being par for the course. But if people think that they're going to get Ohio State, Notre Dame money, they're out of their minds.
Yeah. There's only a limited number of teams can play at that level.
Exactly. But how crazy is that? What did y'all get, G? Like 18.7 million or 17.8, something like that. And Notre Dame got the 20. Whew. I used to hate that, but I'm not mad at it.
Right.
Say it again.
It's on it's going to be on
all the sports, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like it at first, but I like it.
Yeah, I'm like, whatever. Honestly,
more NIL money. More
here's the thing.
NIL money, man.
More NIL, more revenue sharing money.
Yep. The one thing I did want to bring up that we weren't really originally slated to talk about was this stadium, Northwestern. What is it? $875 million stadium for a team that hasn't won a damn thing.
Donated by one person I was reading.
How do you justify that? I mean, is it being in the conference? I don't know how you justify that type of money for a team that caliber.
I'll tell you one thing. I'll bet you all these high school players that are coming out, particularly these 5 stars, some of your higher G6 players, they look at that like, whoa, that's $1 billion.
I'm sure.
So they have some NIL money. So it becomes one of the most expensive marketing tools probably ever in commercialism.
I believe it. And I listened to a little bit of their coaches, presser, and I don't know, man. I think Northwestern might not be down for a whole lot longer. He just gave me this sense. And they got this quarterback from Michigan State. I don't know. I'll get into that in a little bit, but he made me look at him differently after but these coaches can get you riled up. I told y'all that Signetti had me ready to suit up earlier today, man. You for real.
He's all emotional.
His intensity is bananas, man. And he's a straight shooter, but he's Saban tree. So, that's how you win. That's how you get you a championship, get you a Saban protege. That's how you win them.
Are you going to go back to Northwestern as we go down? Because I have a comment about that, and I can wait if you're going to wait.
Yeah. When we get into the teams, I'm going to definitely come back to them, but definitely feel free to, if I don't get to it, to bring up your comment. But that's basically the essence of the state of the conference. Big Ten's the big dog. Nobody's chasing the SEC. Everybody's dogging us right now. So, we got a lot to prove this year, man. And I don't know how deep we'll be, but we shall see. Let's get into some of these teams, and we'll kind of do it the same way we've done the other conferences. We're not going to go through every single team. Obviously, we know in this conference, we kind of know who the big dogs are. On the first day, we had Illinois, Iowa, Penn State, Rutgers, USC, and Wisconsin. And I just want to hone in real quick. Let's focus in on Penn State and USC. And then if anybody wants to talk about any of the other teams from that day, feel free to chime in. And we'll start with your boys, big dude, Penn State. A lot going on with them this year. A lot of change up in Happy Valley. What's your take on it? What's your take on it at this point?
They have not a whole lot of people coming back. There's only 4 starters coming back altogether from last year. And of course, 2 of the main guys is Anthony Donko on offense and Tony Rojas. So it's going to be different now that we have, I think where the biggest upswing is bringing those players in from Iowa State that Matt Campbell's bringing in, Rocco Beck, and bringing in his running back, and I think it was like 21 other players. But you also have Dan, I can't remember his name, their new DC this year from USC that used to play for Penn State. I think it's going to be a different year. I think Penn State's going to play a more aggressive style defense, an attacking style. We'll see if they can match up on the corners. That's going to be it on that. I think the biggest part is going to be the continuity on the offense. You got Anthony Donko on the edge or can play guard, and you got Rojas, who is actually with the dot on his helmet, making all the calls. So I'm trying not to really say too much. I want to be as optimistic as I can, to be honest with you. I think their schedule is not that bad. I think some of the big games they have USC at home, which is going to be a difficult home game, even though USC is coming across the country to play. It's a big thing. And, of course, they don't play Michigan. They do play Michigan this year. That's the other thing. They play Michigan at the Big House, but they don't play Ohio State. So those games are going to be difficult games, and I think the schedule is favorable. And again, this is what we're talking about. This is what I'm talking about. And when I say favorable, I see that we might be able to get away with losing 3 games, which to me still is not that good of a season. You know, that you're not going to play for the Big Ten title or you're not going to make the playoff. So I think the issue is going to be this continuity of and all those new coaches that bring people in. I'm sure we'll get to Kyle Whittingham later, but those teams that bring in a lot of players where the players follow the coach, you know, well respected, but it's going to be something with the program. And I'm glad you have Terry Smith there. I think that's the difference. Terry not getting the job and being the associate head coach is going to help get things in order. I just don't think they're ready for anything that sounds like a championship. So, because they say they have a favorable schedule, but as we know, the game has to be played on the field. I think the Lions are going to be a good team and are going to have a chance to surprise some people. I don't know if they'll be able to beat Michigan on the road. I think they could beat USC home, you know, but they're going to have the best effort. And, of course, the big house is going to be different this year, and them having Underwood back, which they didn't think they were going to have from Michigan. Can you hold down a person like that? So we have some experience in the right places, but to be a contender, probably not just yet.
What about you, G? What are your thoughts on Penn State?
Pretty similar. I think if I'm a Penn State fan, I know from, you know, with Campbell being at Iowa State when they had the two top 15 finishes. So he knows how to if he could take a program like the Cyclones and do that, I think that he's going to be able to get Penn State, not necessarily this season, but maybe in 2 or 3 seasons, Penn State will be back, you know, where they should be, you know, in the discussion about whether or not they're going to win the Big Ten. So I definitely think that he's that type of coach. And, you know, I used to say that coaches don't matter as much, but I think over the years that has definitely changed. That coaches matter.
I agree. Yeah,
they matter significantly. And I definitely think if I'm someone coming out of high school, I'm someone coming, you know, looking to transfer, and I'm also seeing this cat bringing people with him, that means something. Mm-hmm. So I think Penn State's future is bright, but not maybe the next season or 2, though.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement with both of you on Penn State. The more I look at Matt Campbell, I think he was a great pick for your next coach. He did a good job at Iowa State. I mean, it's Iowa State, probably not as many resources. And he did a really good job with them 7 bowl games in 10 years. And they were actually 8-1 during that COVID season and went on to the Fiesta Bowl. But I think his quarterback, Rocco Beck, is going to be a little bit better than people think. He's a Florida kid, threw for almost 3,000 last year. And I agree wholeheartedly with G said about, you know, all of these kids coming with him says a lot. And I think that you're going to see a different Penn State team than we've seen in a long time, especially on defense. I mean, if you think about Penn State from back in the day, you know, it was linebacker U for a reason. Those defenses used to be ferocious, and we've kind of lost that. And you haven't had a really premier quarterback in a while. Now, I don't know that Rocco is going to be premier, but I think he's going to be better than what you've had the last few years. So I think that he's going to have a pretty good year. Big dude, you brought up the schedule, and that immediately jumped out at me. Man, he couldn't have a better schedule coming into this transition year. Like you said, there's two big games, USC and Michigan, at least on paper. You know how the season's pan out. You never know who might catch you. But definitely a workable schedule. You know, but you could look, you never know what Wisconsin's going to be, what Washington might be. But definitely that USC and Michigan, those 2 games jump out. I could see y'all going 10-2, big dude, believe it or not.
Oh,
God, I know sounds crazy. And I know you would take that in a heartbeat.
I would take
that.
I have them going 10-2, man.
That's a great season.
Their schedule, their schedule's set up to get off to a real nice start. And, you know, sometimes when you can get off to a good start, especially in transition, players start to believe, and that can take you a long way, man. Just that belief can win you a couple of games here and there. So I think I like where Penn State's going to be headed. I've heard of good things so far, you know, in terms of their spring and, you know, what they're looking like going into the fall. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Matt Campbell does up there. Let's move into USC, and I'll start with you, G. Everybody thinks USC, this is their year to make that move. That this is we're finally going to get back to USC in some championship caliber football. G Smirk doesn't seem to read as much, but what do you think, G?
So this is one of the schools, and I look at their coach, and I am reminded of the school days homecoming football speech when Ossie Davis says, "Do you want me to lose my job?"
Yeah, that's right. That's a good one. That's a classic, G.
That's about where he's at, though, G. That's about where he's at.
Yeah.
That is where he's at. And you know what? His recruitment, the way his recruitment season went, shows that they are serious. He's trying to keep his job. Number one recruiting class in the nation. Wow. Now, one thing I do wonder, I think they have a new offensive coordinator, right? Am I correct?
I think so.
Cat.
Defensive coordinator. They got Gary Patterson from TCU.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
But you know what they did? They did get a new coordinator for offense too. You're right, G, because Lincoln Riley's not calling the plays anymore.
Exactly. I want to say he's been around for a while. I just don't know if he's going to be able. I hope he can, but I don't know if he's going to be able to relate to these young players, because you know it's a different mental game with these kids now. So I'm hoping it works out for him. Obviously, Riley has all the confidence that he can do. And me, selfishly, I want to see another contending USC team. That just kind of probably because we come up through the 80s and 90s. That's what we're used to. So we want to see that again, selfishly. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, he's giving that speech. Do you want me to lose my job? And they went out and got some players. Even their transfer portal, I think numbers are also pretty high in terms of the ranking. So I think USC is going to be in the mix. I honestly do.
Yeah, he can never get over the hump, but that's a great way to start off the analysis on USC. What's your thoughts, big dude?
Well, Oregon, Ohio State, and Indiana. The question is, can he get those wins? He's got to get two out of three of those wins. Oregon, Ohio State, and Michigan. Can he get there? That's what I'm saying. See,
ain't happening, bro. Ain't happening.
Yeah, bro.
But this is what I'm saying. I mean, I don't think he's in a good position. I say, early on, before we start talking, well, who's hot? I mean, I think that tells you a little. We'll just say that tells you a little something. I mean, they have the players. They always have the speed. They always have the athletes. And that's what we're getting back to, the value of how the CFP is going to look at them with 3 losses and possibly 4, if you ask me, because I still believe that Penn State can beat them. I think playing in State College is a chance to pull off a game that you're not supposed to win. But USC doesn't stand really above anybody much. And that was our points. But I think even to win the Big Ten, those other teams we mentioned, to go after them, and there's no division, and I'm sure they had a solid year, solid off season. I just don't see them doing more than that. I mean, they're projected, I think, to be 9-3. They should beat Washington. And listen, playing at Wisconsin isn't as easy. Just like you mentioned it, Guru. They play at Wisconsin, and playing at Wisconsin is not easy. It's never an easy football game.
No.
So I would say, dude, walk the tightrope. He's got to get out of the gate And I think if he wins 2 out of 3 of those games, it won't be like Ozzie Davis. I think he'll be able to maintain and get into playoffs. That was a good one. That was a
great one.
Yeah. I gotta give you that one, man. So, I'm excited to see what USC has. They lost Makai Lemon. Who's going to be a difference? Kai Lemon. They seem to lose a really good wideout per year at USC. I just think 9-3 is what we're looking at, unless they can get going early. See, that's why I think one of those classic games would have done USC well. So I want to say USC somewhere. They always bring him somewhere in the top 5, 6. And I don't know if it's going to be a whole lot more than that. And they may surprise somebody. I think one of those 3 teams that we mentioned, maybe they're not going. I think they could beat at least one of those 3 teams, that we mentioned earlier. So, and that's Indiana. I think Indiana is going to get upset by somebody they shouldn't this year.
What you think?
I'm telling you, man. Don't talk too much stuff, man.
I originally thought the same thing, that Indiana was going to have a fall to earth year, but I ain't too sure now, man.
Okay, I mean,
but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they can. I'm just saying I think that's one of the reasons you get upset, because somebody else is just going to match you. They have that type of day. That's all I'm saying.
They're not going to sneak past anybody anymore. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You can forget that. But USC, I kind of echo similar to what you guys have. I think that Gary Patterson could save them to some extent, but you lost 2 wide receivers to the NFL. You can't tell me you reloaded and didn't lose something there, even though you think that your quarterback might have a breakout year. With 2 new wide receivers, that's going to be challenging. And with that schedule, those 4 games that you mentioned, big dude, all of those teams are going to bring defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I just find that being a problem for him. And I think Lincoln / Ozzie Davis. I think G nailed that one, man. I think this might be it for him. This might be it for him. I don't see who they're going to be a threat to. I don't think they win any of those games.
Wow.
I truly don't think they win, and they might lose to UCLA. I think UCLA might end up being better than them this year.
Oh, wow.
Because of the coach. Because of the coach.
That's a call.
Because they got my man from James Madison, Bob Chesney. I love him, man. A Signetti guy, too.
Yeah. The Signetti tree.
He has a coach on the West Coast, though. I don't know.
Yeah. So we'll see. We shall see. So on day 2, the big boys were Ohio State and Oregon. Can't wait for this. The other teams were Michigan State, Minnesota, Purdue, and UCLA. G, as we did for Big Dude with his guys, I'm going to let you start us off with the Buckeyes.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't even call them out their name yet this year.
Here's the thing. We brought in Arthur Smith as the offensive coordinator. Lots of experience, going to have that pro-style offense up and going. So he's going to be a much better play caller than Ryan Day. So I'm happy. I don't really have a whole lot to say because we're retooled. We still have a solid team coming back. We had a good offseason in terms of new recruits, transfer portal. We just basically retooled it. It was really a case of the rich getting richer with Ohio State this offseason. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go undefeated, only because the offensive coach that we have now, I think he's going to be able to maximize the strengths, and I don't believe he's going to be as conservative a play caller as Ryan Day is in big games.
I can see that. What about you, big dude? What do you think about the Buckeyes this year?
Well, the Buckeyes, I mean, let's keep it real, G. The Buckeyes have been hit hard by the NFL. They lost some pretty dynamic guys. I mean, you lost like 3, what do they call them?
Three all-world.
all world. Three folks that you just, I think are probably some of the best college football players in the last 20 years. So they've gotten hit pretty hard. Now that doesn't mean they haven't reloaded. The question is, are they going to reload enough? And these are the games. This was part of our descent that we had earlier. Are they good enough with this new offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, to beat Texas and to beat on the road and to beat Indiana on the road? And we're not even getting to Michigan yet, because Michigan, again, it doesn't really matter who you have back for that game. It's about who's ready for that game, So, I mean, Ohio State in a lot of people's books are favorite. I think Ryan Day is the coach that is out front, and all the things that they are doing. He's not afraid to make the hires and not afraid to make things good for the players. The other thing is that we've been talking about the conference championship game as well. How big is it going to be if they do have two losses to return back to Indianapolis for that vaunted conference championship game? And will it be against Oregon? That's going to be the question. When you start to and that's what I mean by when you start to take a look at what the value of things are. Ohio State has a difficult schedule. If they can make it through, I don't think anybody's going to be able to touch them for the most part. But if they don't win those games on the road, you don't get a chance to reset. And we got to find out who is next. And then, of course, saying the quarterback, is he going to be able to carry them with in such road environments that we mentioned? So I think Ohio State is just about up there. I wouldn't bet against Ohio State. I still think Oregon is maybe a leg behind, but the race isn't over yet. I think Oregon could go ahead of them. And this may come down. This might be the year that people, because of the championship games that they have, this particular championship game for the Big Ten might be the reason that people want to keep the conference championship games, because of what's happening between, it could be Oregon or it could be Indiana. This will be the year where people talk about why you keep it. And I think Ohio State is up there, but Ohio State can be taken.
Yeah, that's a good segue into my thoughts. I think Ohio State's a machine. It's going to keep going.
Yeah.
It's going to keep going. Two big things to look for to me this year for them. How well can the defense rebound with all those losses?
Yeah, that's real.
That's going to be, if they can play near that level, they will be fine. The other thing is, because you have such a new defense, Julian Sayin, and I know you don't want to hear this, Julian Sayin is going to have to win 2 or 3 games himself.
Yeah.
He's going to have to win 2 games.
I'm not as actually concerned now as I would have been last season.
And he's more experienced now. He got some good experience in the playoffs.
Yeah, he did.
He was green.
I think he has a better staff around him now.
Somebody that actually can call some freaking plays, call an offense, call a game. The only games that they have that scare me, and I'm going to disrespect one university really badly here, but it is what it is. I think Texas and Indiana are the only games that they play this year that scare me. Now, don't get me wrong. This is the toughest schedule I think that they've had in a while. Those other 3 games, Michigan, USC, Oregon, no joke. But I think that Texas and Indiana are the only ones that have the pedigree. I shouldn't say they're the only ones that have the pedigree to beat them. Oregon has the pedigree, but they just can't. For whatever reason, Oregon just can't. They're always going to be flashy and good and beat you 70-20. But when winning time comes and you really need to win a game, it's just not going to happen. They should be the team that knocks them off with the experienced quarterback like Dante Moore, but it won't happen. It's going to be the Texas and Indiana games, spaced nicely apart. I will mention that those are the 2 games to keep your eye on for Ohio State. I have Ohio State being right there at the end. You guys are going to be surprised who I have picked winning the national championship when we get to that point. just the thought of it is going to it makes me vomit more than picking Ohio State. So y'all probably could guess who it would be, but I think Ohio State will be right there. I think I have like a short list of maybe 4 teams that I think can win it this year, but I could see Ohio State winning the Big Ten. I think it does come down to them in Indiana again, but there ain't much to say about the Buckeyes. It's like when we talked about the Rams in the NFL. Same old, man.
Yeah. Seattle.
Yep. Same old.
You remember those Bama teams that kept coming back? I'm like, I think Ohio State is kind of in that kind of situation where it's just the next man up. And
yeah, you're pretty much looking at a team now, G, that is the program is so dominant that it's like, can we run the table every year? It's not, you know what I'm saying? It's can we pull in Indiana? Can we take it to 15-16-0? Not whether we're gonna get to the CFP and all that other stuff. Can we be perfect? So that's where we are with them. Dave, did anybody else that you guys want to talk about there? There were Illinois, Iowa,
Oregon.
Rutgers, Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
One thing I had about Wisconsin, this is another one hot seat. Luka Fickle. I mean, he's been there. What's this, year 4 for him?
Yeah, been a minute.
So it's like, in Wisconsin, those fans, they were spoiled always being in the hunt for the Big Ten title, and they've not been in the hunt for a while. So this could be a hot seat season for him. Yeah,
I have pressure cooker written next to his name too. Him and Lincoln might be rolling out on the same jet to new destinations. We gotta work that Ossie Davis thing in when coaches start getting fired somewhere, man. Both in the NFL and college. We gotta work that in.
That's right. The devil's on that field. Go get the devil.
Have to see if there's some free use audio for that.
Yes. All right. So day 3, we had Indiana, Maryland, Michigan, Nebraska, Northwestern, which we wanted to spend some time on, in Washington. Let's start off with the defending national champions, which, wow, the Indiana Hoosiers. And we're not talking basketball, people. Big dude.
They kind of retooled, man, which kind of
That's what I'm saying.
Retooled. I say tongue in cheek about Ohio State just running it, but I'm like, nah, Indiana is not going to be some pushover this season.
It won't be easy. It won't be easy.
No.
Big dude, you want to set it off with Indiana?
Well, Indiana's back, and I say that it's hard for me to tell what they have replenished because they've lost a lot of good guys too. Anybody from all the folks they had on the offensive line to Pons, their corner, to of course their quarterback, and Indiana, I think, is looking at. I don't know if they're looking at running the table because I think Indiana's biggest test, beside Ohio State, is going to be big. Is going to be at the Big House. They got to play on the road at the Big House and on the road against the Huskies. Those are going to be difficult games for them. Can their new quarterback carry them and have the poise that Fernando Mendoza had in those games? And is the defense still going to be tough and attacking as they are? Are they going to be loaded with the corners that they have? So they have Josh Hoover, who's their quarterback. He is capable, he is serviceable, but is he going to be spectacular? And what does the supporting cast look like? Because did anybody else follow the coach this year? Because last year was the year to follow the coach, and we saw that works. And they have their firepower offensively, and they are going to be able to grind it out and run the ball. But they ought to also take heed to not just Ohio State. They really got to look at, I would say, USC. USC is a dangerous game, even at home. That sometimes, folks can get to their stride at a certain point. But USC is another game that's going to be difficult too. So I think that there's a real possibility they could lose 2 games. and be right there. Those road losses that are possible at Michigan and Washington are tough, but I think they can win one of those. I think they can beat Michigan on the road. The question is will their tough road win at the Big House, will it be replaced by another win that they weren't too sure about? Are they going to be able to beat Ohio State? They got Ohio State at home, and that's great, but they've got to get out of the gate. And I like Cignetti's enthusiasm. They have a deep roster. I think they're built for near the top. Run the table, I'm not too sure. I'm going to say that the best case scenario is 11-1 and then 10-2, depending upon whether they don't get upset by one of those other teams. As they saw with Penn State, it wasn't one of Penn State's better team, and they won that Penn State game, and God bless them, by a hope and a prayer and a great play.
Sure.
And the question is when you don't have that, can you finish the rest of the season? So I'm going to say between 11-1 and 10-2, and that's because I think that they're able to get a big road win at the Big House. Did I say the Big House? Yes, I did.
Yep. All right, G, this might end up being your arch nemesis this year. What do you have on Indiana?
It could be, but as long as we get payback. But this is not the Indiana team of last season. Mm-hmm. I don't think by any stretch. So I'm thinking 9-3, 10-2 Indiana team this season. I don't think they'll lose 4. But that Washington team, you just never. That is, for me, I kind of went back and forth on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But which means that I think Washington could get them, but I think with Washington, it would have to be the perfect game.
Yeah.
So I just think 9-3, 10-2 for them. So they're not going to be it's not going to be a pushover by any stretch.
Indiana's going to be one of these teams. I agree with you, G. They're not going to be as good talent-wise as they were last year, but they are going to get better as the season progresses. So they're looking at their schedule. They're going to be 6-0 entering, or I guess hosting Ohio State. They'll be 6-0 hosting that game. Cignetti is the X factor to me. Is why they won't go someplace like Washington and lose, why they won't lose on the road at a Nebraska. It's a different Indiana team, and I might have been the last person who wanted to realize that. They're different, man. And I think the coach makes I was like you, G. I'm like, yeah, there's a few places where coaches matter. There might be a handful of them, but for the most part, nah, it matters to have this guy as your coach. I mean, think about what we saw him do in the playoff games, the adjustments that he made in every single game, especially the national championship game, because they were in trouble, man. Make no doubts about it. Miami could have won the national championship very easily. And
adjustments.
He called timeouts at the right time. He put certain guys in positions. I think that they have a solid foundation. I don't think they're going to run the table. Agree with you, big dude. I just think it's going to be too hard to do that. But I tell you what, that October 17th game with Ohio State, if they're where I think they will be at that time, they're going to have a damn good shot to run the table regular season anyways. I'm not sure what to make of Michigan. That's why anybody that's got to play Michigan, I just don't know who. Michigan was terrible to me last year, and I'm hearing all these things about Underwood just not living up to the potential. I personally think he picked the wrong school, but that's just me. For his skill set, like, why would you go there? They want to run the ball 90 times a game. Like, go someplace that got a more explosive offense, bro. But I like Indiana to be right there neck and neck, and I think they're going to have a chance. That USC game towards the end of the year is going to be huge. Certainly Washington's the next to last game going to be huge. But I think they'll be right there. Josh Hoover, I think he's going to be better than people think, and I think he might, by the end of the year, end up being more of a threat than Mendoza was because he's a little bit better athlete. Not as big, which he's at that height that I don't like for a quarterback. I think he's like 6'1", little undersized compared to Mendoza, but he's more athletic. Now, the one thing about Josh Hoover, and y'all remember this when we watch their games, because these might make a difference, he will turn that ball over. And Mendoza did not do that.
Well,
That's the one problem with Josh Hoover.
Confident.
And you'll see him, and that's why those first 6 games are important, and that's why Cignetti's important. He may turn it over against some of these teams, but they'll be able to win those games if he does that. Cignetti, I believe, will coach that out of him.
I'm hoping.
And I think that's going to be the difference in their season. That's going to be the difference in their season. Because I watched Hoover play before. I mean, the dude, he's got almost 10,000 career passing yards and 71 touchdowns. And you know, TCU was pretty explosive football at TCU. But we'll see. We'll see on Indiana, but I think that they're legit. I think they're here to stay. G, your favorite team in all of the land, the Michigan Wolverines.
But, you know, I think you summed Michigan up pretty well. You know, from Ohio State perspective, it's not going to even be about the record. So we know they're going to probably play their best football against us.
Yeah, always do.
I just don't know if the shadow of Moore is still there or not. So we'll know, depending on how they play early on. If they come out and they're blowing people away, then maybe they did something from that psychological perspective. The coaching is really, really solid. I just don't know. For me, they're just they're up in the air right now. I can't even evaluate them until the first
agree with you.
game.
I agree. Like, they're the one team in the conference that, I mean, and we could probably dig all the way through it. They're the one team that you don't know what they're going to be.
Yeah.
You just don't know. What are your thoughts on them? What are your thoughts on them, big dude?
Well, I'm the same way. I like Whittingham and I like his enthusiasm. This is a guy coming in on the end, and I don't blame him. You know, coming in, taking that job, you know, leaving Utah. I thought he was crazy for doing it, but it's a unique opportunity. Yeah, I think it's a unique opportunity you don't pass up, but he just seemed to have it so good. I was like, wow, this guy's got it good, not worried about his job and what's he going to turn around. And then, but I guess what you look for as a coach too, you look for the best experience and the best challenges. But boy, when you start looking at his the schedule, and they've got Oregon, on the road, they've got Ohio State on the road, and they've got some tough home games. I want to be honest with you. I think the Big House is not going to be as much of a home field advantage as it needs to be because there's a lot of mixed feelings with that Michigan fan base. I think they're still trying to find out who Michigan is altogether as a program. Mm-hmm. That's why, at best, I don't think Michigan. I say Michigan will be lucky to be 8-4, 9-3 if certain things happen. There's still, as you mentioned, Guru, the jury's still out on Underwood. There's talk of whether Underwood, they're going to move on from Underwood if it doesn't work on this year. I don't know if that means it doesn't work out. I don't know if that means they're going to ask him to go into the portal, but somehow, we talk about a quarterback. I've never heard of talk of a quarterback being on the hot seat. That's what's different about today's college football as well.
Not a quarterback
publicly on the hot seat
by now. I'm sorry, just saying. Usually, you have your QB set by now. So
right.
Just the whole Michigan culture is just kind of jacked up right now.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any question about it. So, they have Ohio State, I think, on the road, on the 28th of November. It's going to be cold. We know what that's going to be. But home game, and this isn't being a homer, Penn State could come in and surprise them. But the question is, if our defense is really good and we get pressure on Underwood may not be able to get away from some of those other people. That game could help put a check-in linebacker use box that particular day. And then all of a sudden, I think people really are saying, and all the different things that I've read, that they're going to get Indiana. I don't know how they're going to do that. So even at home, the Big House this year is not the Big House because it's got to go through a whole nother identity change. It is not. 8
You
and
threw
4
G that lob. You threw G that lob on that one,
at
man.
best. Knock it down, Doc. Knock it down, Neek. Knock it down, Neek.
Well, I tried to find some good. I tried to find some good in Michigan. Kyle Whittingham, certainly veteran coach out of all the new coaches in the league this year. I mean, he's the most veteran, 177 wins. He got almost a 70% win percentage. He's won some big games. I mean, Utah was 13-0 in 08 and went to the Sugar Bowl and took it to Bama.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the year that Florida played Oklahoma and blew them out. Florida won it. I think that was the Tebow, one of the Tebow teams. But, I mean, that's the only thing that can save them. And I think, we'll see how good Kyle Whittingham really is. I think that's probably, if anything comes from this, because we know Michigan's got talent. I mean, it's Michigan. And we know that they have a quarterback who was the best player in the country when he came out of high school. And I think that Whittingham will probably be a better quarterback for him. If he's going to be saved, Whittingham can save him. But I think if he knows, like I know, he'll get in the portal because Michigan I don't think is it for him, man. But I'm looking at Michigan's schedule, and I really want to be kind. Not only do I think they're going to lose those games to Oklahoma, Penn State, Indiana, Oregon, Ohio State, I don't even think they're going to be close.
Wow.
This is not going to be a good season for them.
No.
I'm as much as I am on the other side of Michigan, I know you all think this is crazy, but it pains me to say that because it just doesn't seem like it would be a season, with them being, possibly, I'm saying 8 and 4 at best, and it could be more like 6 and 6.
Yeah, it's terrible to think that way. I mean, college football and your conference is better when Michigan's good. I mean, however we feel about them, they're important to college football. They're one of those historical teams, right? But I just don't see it, man. And I tell you what, some of the things I'm hearing about Michigan State, they have them. They might lose that game. UCLA, I think, is going to be better, and that's next to last game. Definitely UCLA will be better by then. Yeah, you might have hit it on the head, big dude. 6 and 6. They might be lucky if they're 500.
Yeah.
Now, of course, Underwood can show us who Underwood was coming out of high school, and then that flips things a little bit. But I just don't. Even if he did, I don't think that would be enough. I just don't. I don't
my
see
saving grace for Michigan is really what you started with, Guru, Kyle Whittingham. I do have a lot of trust and expectation that he's able to work with his coaches and get his team's headspace in a good place.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if they do that, they'll definitely surprise us. Now, are they going to be contending for the Big Ten? I don't think so. What has me confused or kind of like, I don't know if they are going to be like a 75% team or a 50% team. That's why I'm just kind of like, I don't know. But I think the coaching is going to bridge the gap. That's what I'm thinking.
Yep. And we don't know how many people did they lose in the transfer portal with this Sharon Moore situation.
Yeah.
Guys had to bounce. I would have probably.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I know another team that we wanted to talk about that we started to get to earlier on this last day was Northwestern. Gee, what were your thoughts on that? I know you had mentioned something earlier that you wanted to say about them.
Oh, yeah. Y'all remember when back when Oklahoma State, they were still in the Big 12 together. I cannot remember the name of the billionaire who poured a whole lot of money.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
And it worked for a little while in terms of the quality of the team that they were fielding after that, but it fizzled out eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm just saying, so this is for all the Northwestern listeners, is that I would not be surprised if they do have a recruitment bump, if they do have some good years, whether or not they can maintain it will become the question. Because we've already seen this movie before with Oklahoma State.
Yeah, this David Braun, their coach, was talking big-ish at the
What?
media days. He was
What?
talking big-ish.
I know I was away somewhere if I didn't see that.
So they got this kid, this Aiden Childs kid. Do you guys remember him?
Sounds
Name
Basically, he transferred from Michigan State, apparently. And the film that I saw on him, if you got Michigan State on your schedule, he's going to be a problem. He's got a strong arm. He's athletic as hell. He's that dual threat. You know, I like that dual threat quarterback. He's that. And you got Chip Kelly. You know, Chip Kelly, it doesn't work out long term, but in the beginning, it's always on. So I'm wondering how prolific this kid could be in a Chip Kelly offense in the first year. That's the only thing that scares me a little bit with them. So I think they're going to be super, super competitive.
Yeah.
Their schedule is not terrible, believe it or not.
Not.
They play Penn State, Ohio State, and Indiana and Oregon. They got 4 tough ones, but I mean, for them to go, we're talking 12 games? I mean, if they went 8-4, that'd be a hell of a season to me for Michigan State in that conference. That'd be a good season. New quarterback, new OC.
You can recruit off of that.
You absolutely could. And then you got this stadium that you're bringing me to when I come to campus to point to the site of the almost $1 billion stadium.
Oh, man.
You can recruit on that. I think you can.
So, and that's the only thing I wanted to bring up about them is that these dual threat quarterbacks, man, they scare me to death. When they show the other team, and I'm like, man, I didn't know that was their quarterback. Scares me to death because anything can happen with a quarterback like that.
Oh,
Those quarterbacks can keep you in a game, and even if you're the far superior team, they make 2 or 3 athletic plays here and there, and you're in the fourth quarter in a 1-score game.
And you looking
that's
up
the only thing with Northwestern.
5-yard line.
Yeah, that's the only thing with Northwestern. I don't think they will be an easy out. And they got a good chance to get off to no, they don't. I take that back. I said they had a good chance to get off to a good start, but no, they don't.
I think it's 2 L's off the bat, right?
Yeah, well, they start off at South Dakota State, who could get them, but they got a bye Colorado and then Indiana and Penn State. So 5 games in, they got Penn State and Indiana, and I think Colorado might beat them. So maybe not.
Remember, we lost to them last year, so we'll be ready.
Yeah, I just think that your boys are not going to be what people expect, given how the season was. Like I'm not trying to go to Happy Valley. I would really not want to have to go there.
Right.
This is a moral support year for Penn State, so y'all need to do this to show them y'all care. So those young men head won't be hanging low. Because
and let me tell you something, G.
It's going to be a different question.
Yeah, it is the 40th anniversary of the championship from 86.
Oh, that's right. It is.
So
that's right.
So as long as I'm in good shape, I plan to go. So for things like that are more ceremonial, to get to know the players and to get to know some of the other people, that's the difference with Campbell. He's letting us have the influence and talk to players and all. I know how many people do that. The question I have about Northwestern is, did they really increase their talent level? I mean, I'm glad they got in the quarterback because I know as far as Chip Kelly goes, Chip Kelly just never seems to be a help to any quarterback these days. He's just, he's one of those players. He gets to the locker room and he walks the other way. He's not really saying anything. And he's there and he knows what he's doing and he's going to give him the right push. You just never hear about the off season they had in the portal or anything. I think they can surprise some people, be competitive. I hate that game. I hate going to Northwestern and playing that game near that lake. That's a tough game, there.
It's terrible going to Northwestern, especially.
It's terrible.
Late.
And Minnesota too. Minnesota's terrible. So,
but it'll be interesting. Any other teams that we didn't talk about you guys want to bring up? There's nobody else to me that was really. I think UCLA might end up being good by the end of the year. Did we talk
about Oregon?
No.
No, we didn't. Did we skip? We skipped Oregon. Thank you for bringing that up. Damn, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, go back to Oregon. Say it again.
I think we skipped UCLA too. I mean, it was a quick hit on UCLA.
Yeah, that's right. We didn't really
No,
hit them either.
UCLA wasn't one of the teams unless somebody wanted to.
Oh, that's
to talk
right,
about them.
right. I forgot they weren't.
But yeah, we definitely forgot about Oregon. Right. I thought we were skipping one, but I lost track there. I thought we had skipped the team. Yeah, let's backtrack to Oregon. We can't skip them. G, you want to start off with them?
Sure. You know, Oregon, they have a pretty veteran roster. They have quite a few returners. But still, man, their defense was weak. If you think about some of the losses that they had, it wasn't the offense. It was definitely the defense. So if you're an Oregon fan, you're hoping that the moves they made in the offseason is going to improve that defense. But that's one of those wait and sees when you deal with this West Coast offenses. You just have to wait and see if the defense is going to come along. So for now, Oregon, I think, is still a contender. Whether or not they are the contender, I'll have to wait and see how that defense plays.
Yeah, what about you, big dude?
I think that this is a team, believe it or not, you know, with the way they play early in road wins that they're able to get, especially road wins that if they can beat Ohio State, I think that will be one of the best games that they can ever play at Ohio State that will dictate the season. I don't think anybody else is going to be in the ballpark with them. You know, the quarterback is, I think, a brilliant leader. He's a tremendous young man, not just because of him, but Oregon has once again continued to reload and make themselves definitely a top caliber team nationally and in the Big Ten. And as I said earlier as well, I don't think other than Ohio State that they'll be challenged. I just think that Big Ten conference game, they're the teams that's the team that are really where the Big Ten conference game them set. And can they get beyond the second round of the playoffs this year?
Yeah, Oregon has a fairly easy schedule in terms of the number of difficult games they have.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly they play USC, Ohio State, Michigan. Again, we talked about Michigan. I don't expect that to be much. So really looking at USC and Ohio State. Dante Moore will be huge. How much better did he get after ending the season on a disastrous note against Indiana in that playoff game? Dan Lanning, we talked about coaches earlier. Dan Lanning, I like him, but he doesn't move the needle for me. He's not the type of coach that's going to get you over the hump, and I think that he's proven that. And I'll throw something out there. How much longer is Oregon going to roll with him? I mean, I know he can recruit. They fill the stadium. They win their games, 10, 11 games every year. They're in the playoffs, but they do not show well in the playoffs. You know what image is in my head? When y'all knocked their heads off in the Rose Bowl, G.
Yeah.
I think it was that wasn't CJ Stroud. That wasn't CJ Stroud year, was it?
Was that 2020?
You know what game I'm talking about though, right? It was when Little Man was there from Cleveland, the third stringer for Cleveland, knocked his head off, man, in that game.
Was that 2024, 2023?
I think it was 2024, I'm thinking. 2023 season, but that 24 bowl game, I think. It was the revenge game because remember y'all lost. Oh, it wasn't him. It was the quarterback from Kansas State. Let the clock run out in Eugene. Howard was your quarterback. So that was the get back game. And I just feel like Dan Lanning doesn't have enough chops to win the game for Oregon. And I think they're always going to be 10-2, 11-1, entering the playoffs, and then something happens.
And I think that's probably why he's not on the hot seat, because it is Oregon, and they're probably
content. They're content with it, I guess.
Unlike USC, because USC has that history behind them. Again, obviously, it was a different era, but nevertheless, USC fans, they remember. Even new fans know about the era of when the USC were galloping, the championship. So, I don't think he's on a hot seat. But I do also think that he'll never get over the hump, just like I don't think Lincoln Riley's going to get over the hump.
You would have to think in this era of NIL and all of this money and close to $1 billion stadiums, somebody in that institution's got to look at this and say, okay, wait a minute. Yeah, we've been winning. Dude's probably got like a 900 winning percentage, but we haven't won one.
Right.
Somebody's going to wake up one day and be like, wait a minute, 11-1 every year is not good enough. I mean, I got to think eventually, but you're right. It's a lot of other stuff. I mean, it's still Nike USA, so they care about their track and all that stuff. But I got to feel like that's going to bite him if he doesn't do something soon. And to tell you what, this Big Ten's only getting better. Indiana winning it last year is a game changer for the conference, in my opinion. I think it really catapults you to having more depth now. But there was one more thing I want to say about Oregon, and I lost my thought. But I just don't – they'll make the playoffs again. They could be a Final Four team. But at the end of the day, until they can feel the defense that can show up in a big game, it'll be the same old Ducks, man. So any other teams? We kind of really didn't talk about UCLA a whole lot. I do like Bob Chesney. I'm not a big fan of Nico, and I'm not even going to try to say his last name, the quarterback who transferred from Tennessee.
Yes.
He's just never looked good to me, but they said that this might be his year. We'll see.
Well, UCLA, only selfishly do I want to see UCLA win, just because I want the West Coast part of the Big Ten, to actually be competitive. If you're gonna make all these moves, spend all this money, you don't want them to be out here flailing. But we'll see. Let
me tell you something. If the West Coast part of your conference ever returns close to what it was when it was in the Pac-12, game over. Game absolutely over. Because there is no way that any other conference, because the problem's going to be for the SEC, you won't be able to go deep enough to match. It's going to kind of be the reverse of what my argument's always been like, well, y'all only got 3 teams that could really do it. You could go real quick to 6 teams that could really do it, and we only have 3 teams that could really do it.
Bro, we're heading to about a 6-18 team depth chart in terms of people who can contend for the
That's
post.
What I'm saying.
And
if Alabama doesn't come back in the SEC, if Alabama falls off and nobody else steps up, that's going to be problematic. Now, the Texas schools it looks like Texas and Texas A&M can fill those voids. I think it'll be LSU. This will be a big year for Ole Miss to see if they can maintain continuity at the top. And then you have Georgia. So Alabama falling off, if the 2 Texas schools can stay, the SEC can kind of stay where it's at. But if Alabama falls off and nobody steps up to the level that they were, SEC is in trouble, man.
And we don't want a down SEC. That's just not good for football.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, I don't want it. y'all cannot win this thing this year, man. I need anybody with y'all to win it this year, man.
As I say that about SEC, my butt start itching. But yeah, we want a good Alabama. We want a good SEC. And I'll be candid with you. The Big 12, I think, is actually turning a corner, and they're going to be the more premier football league than the ACC is. It's kind of where I'm saying, because they're already a big basketball team, a basketball league. I think they're turning to outplay the ACC in football.
I can see that, because I think the ACC is a long way from having anybody other than a Miami or Clemson, and we don't even know where Clemson is.
Nope.
We'll find out. We're gonna find out quick though, because that's not a neutral site game this year. That's in LSU Death Valley this year.
Really?
Because the last few years they played at a neutral site.
Mm-hmm.
Not this year.
Hey, is it Death Valley? Dead man walking. Dead man walking.
Well, I don't know. It depends on which team you ask, I suppose, because both of their stadiums are Death Valley.
Right.
True that.
Well, there you go. That tightens it
I
up
think
even
LSU
more.
is the tougher environment personally at night. Clemson doesn't intimidate me a whole lot, but LSU, yeah.
Never got to play at their stadiums.
Forward to seeing how they play for different reasons.
Yeah. So.
But anyway.
Anything else about the Big Ten, fellas? I think you guys are definitely super deep. I wouldn't be surprised. Say it again.
I have one more.
Go for it.
And we're going to start calling this the Mission College Award or something. Maryland. Mike Loxley.
Oh,
my guy.
Oh.
Is he still at Maryland?
He's still
at Maryland. Hey, bro, he's not on a hot seat. That dude, man, he's in a walk being
that's the biggest in the country. I don't think there's a bigger hot seat than Boxley.
Yeah, but is it though? Is it though? Because what do you do with Maryland football? I mean, who could fix that?
Year 9, 37 and 49.
I'm not saying you don't get rid of him, but I'm thinking, what the heck's your answer? It's Maryland football.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Go get South Dakota State's coach.
Hold on, Malik Washington. Who's Malik Washington, the quarterback? Where was he?
Nah, I don't know. I don't know any of these cats.
And you had Tua's brother was a quarterback.
That's a transfer, I think.
Right. Tua's brother was the best chance a couple of years ago.
Oh, he was terrible.
Maryland got a bunch of wealthy. Maryland has a bunch of wealthy alums.
Oh, Maryland's got money, but are they committed to football? Because if they're committed to football, they would have gotten Loxley out of there 3 years ago.
Yeah, obviously.
How they survived, I'll never know.
Just like Rutgers.
Okay.
Rutgers got a lot of wealthy alums, but they don't care.
No.
Okay, I don't know why this Malik Washington kid's name was stuck in my head, but he was 5th in Big Ten passing. He's a sophomore. He's 6'5", 231.
Big guy.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if he's from that St. Francis school. It says he's from Glen Burnie, Maryland, but I wonder if he went to that St. Francis out of Bmore. I mean, he has to look, but that doesn't mean he can play.
That's true.
It's like the guy that comes to the basketball court, got all the socks and the kicks and the wristbands and all that.
Well,
but can't shoot or dribble.
Yeah, can't play a lick.
I don't know, but that's a good mention though, G, because Loxley's got to be in trouble. What about Matt Rule? I know this is year 4 for him, and they thought he was the truth, bringing him to the NFL. Then he got shot down quick. Now he's back in college. I mean, he's a coordinator. He's not a head coach. He's a coordinator.
He's a much more subdued Chip Kelly, if you ask me.
Yes, great comparison. Great
they
comparison.
like him out there so far. So
I'm sorry, you can't recruit at Nebraska these days. It's sad to say, but nah.
Yeah, no. I think for some of the old guard, for some of them, this new era is just passed them by, and I'm like, I mean, what can you do? I mean, unless Warren Buffett is willing to throw billions at them.
Yeah, at some schools I just don't see coming back, man.
Yeah, well, Maryland have probably the richest talent that surrounds the school. I mean, that was one of my final choices was Maryland, and you ran into everybody there that almost went to Maryland. I couldn't.
So I wonder what's stopping people.
Huh?
I wonder what's stopping the talent, because you're right. They're like right there on the edge of DC, and you got all of that talent around them.
You could get the Virginia kids and keep your Maryland kids, and you can't get
they had some
anybody.
tremendous people, but it always seemed like you knew you were playing for second place. I mean, they were competitive. They weren't going to win a national championship. They could never boast that. They had the big game then in the ACC where they played Clemson, and they bragged about that game, whether they won or lost. And in Penn State, they should have beat Penn State. Penn State's not really that good, even though we lost to them again. And that was one of my final choices, good people, good coaches. That was Bobby Ross. That's who it was. And,
Maryland's never been relevant. Maryland's never been relevant in college football.
No,
even when they had Boomer and all those guys.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs was the last guy.
And I remember him not. I don't remember one play of Stephon Diggs' college career. I remember when he was in Minnesota, I had to look up what college he went to.
Yeah, he beat us at Penn State in a different call. He beat us at home in the Happy Valley. Yeah, he certainly did.
Well, yeah. Well,
should have stayed in the ACC.
Loxley, yeah, man. His seat is like, it's not a red flame, it's a white flame.
Oh, he's on a soul plane. He's on a soul plane.
What about Pat Fitzgerald, y'all?
Oh, how did he get another job?
Old Northwestern coach that's at Michigan State now.
Yeah, how did he get another job after all that?
Come on, man. You know the answer to that.
Well, yeah, but what are people saying? I already know the answer, but I've heard him interview and he just seemed like it's almost like I'm not trying to be funny, and I don't know what all the circumstances were. Regardless of how they tried to get me, I still beat it. That was the vibe I got. I didn't care for that.
Listen to his record though, 110 and 101.
Interesting.
He was 65 and 76 in the conference.
Jeez.
Why would I want to hire you? And I'm building an $875 million stadium. I'm sorry, I'm getting them mixed up. His old team's building the stadium. Why would I want to hire this guy? He's a 52% career winning percentage. He's won 10 games twice in his career.
Nobody wants to coach at Michigan State after old boy left. Nobody really wants to coach.
To me, it seems like it would be an attractive opportunity for, especially coming from somebody coming from an FCS or a smaller FBS coming into the Big Ten.
Right, but they're not. That's what I'm saying. They're not impressed by that either. Now, this is the guy, and when you hear the players, apparently the players are behind them. Coach Fitz this, Coach Fitz that. I just think it's going to be more the same at Michigan State. I just don't. Why would you go to Michigan State? Seriously, why?
And he's boring. I'm sorry, Northwestern is boring. Even when he had those 2 good years, they were boring to watch.
Yeah. and how about our guy rowing the boat? We start talking about Minnesota.
PJ Fleck from Minnesota. Yeah, he should be on the hot seat.
Yeah, but he makes every season almost seem like it's some kind of S seminar. That just didn't come out right.
Yeah, he's Mr. TED Talk, I call him.
Yeah, that's what he is.
Oh, good God.
All right, let me stop, Craig. Yeah, but Michigan's a tough place to play. Michigan is obviously okay, like it's an Ivy, like he's going to keep his job. So he's not going to be on
anything with him being, I didn't even look at Michigan State, so
not much to look at, man. Not much to look at. Do y'all realize, speaking of these records, the Bob Chesney dude that replaced Signetti at James Madison, he's got a 72% win percentage throughout his career.
Jeez.
And he's a cat that worked his way all the way up from Division III.
Mm-hmm. That's not bad, man.
Not bad at all.
Wow.
And you should be able to recruit at UCLA. I'm sorry. UCLA and USC, there's no excuses for what's happened to those programs.
Man, the UC system is just, they don't really put a lot into athletics. That's the knock with the UC system. And so that's part of the reason why UCLA at least from a football perspective, it's probably not blown up, but they have the alumni. The alumni have the loot to make it happen.
I wonder if the USC dynasty had been a little bit closer to the implementation of NIL, would that have changed that? Because with a program with that rich winning history, you would think that if any of the California schools would be in the games, it would be them.
Right. And then, and part of it is okay, in basketball, they're doing pretty well. Some of their Olympic sports, they're doing well. So, but football is a whole different corporation. I mean, it's a drain.
Yeah, it's its own separate entity. Yeah, it's its own separate entity.
But we do need a good UCLA out here in the western part of the Big Ten.
Well, I think it's going to be a very exciting year for you guys. You have some big games this year. Looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm real interested, especially those head-to-heads with the top teams in your conference. I cannot wait for those, man. Because a lot of times, I ain't gonna lie, man. The only games I would really watch in the Big Ten is if Ohio State and Penn State, if they were like top 10, were playing another good team. Other than that, if you guys were playing other teams that weren't, I didn't watch Big Ten because I knew what was gonna happen. I knew what was going to, like when we were texting one Saturday last year, I can't remember. And you guys had Illinois. And I remember you and Scales were like, oh, we were a little concerned. I'm like, are y'all serious? I ain't watching that game. And then it was close, like in the beginning of the third quarter. And G's like, we're only up by 10.
Bro, I have a certain philosophy is that we need 14 points every quarter.
Yeah, and you want to come out the gate quick. So I get what you're saying. It's like I watch many Bama games like that where they're playing with their food. I'm like, come on, man. This is South Carolina. We should be up by more than 17-6 at halftime. Like, come on.
It's like you got the roll.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Because the committee, they look at that margin of victory.
Oh, I want teams to get destroyed. I want Nebraska, Oklahoma scores from the 80s. Don't play. Don't play with people.
Well, they just rolled up people back then.
Oh, the game, there was no parity back then, man.
None.
I should be scared to death about Alabama season, but you know what? I have no expectations. So anything good that happens will be a pleasant surprise.
Once they go on a run, they go on a run though.
I don't trust this coach. I don't trust him.
I don't either, but I think something good has got to happen with the people that he has.
That's what I'm thinking. Something has to happen. Alabama is not going to stay down. And I wouldn't even call last year down.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we made the playoffs, so you're right. It wasn't down. I mean, and even if you don't want to count that, because we shouldn't have been there, we made the SEC championship game, so it wasn't that down.
Right. So, I mean, but I feel what you're saying. There's a certain expectation that you have. And I
don't like how we got pushed around.
Right.
Like we physically got beat most games. I mean, look what Indiana did. That was the exclamation point on that defined our season. We got bullied by too many teams last year, and that is not Alabama football. Win or lose, we don't get bullied like that.
Yeah, I feel you.
So,
yeah, that's always a hard-nosed game.
I look forward to seeing the Alabama games when they lose.
I know you do. Tell you what, looking at that schedule that we looked at last week, boy, it's going to be some stressful Saturdays up in here.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on another episode of Chasing Rings. We are getting closer and closer to the start of football. Thank you. God is good. Until next time, see you later.
All the time now.